everyone. We're back with another episode of the Boom podcast. We have a very special guest tonight, co-founder and editor of Swish magazine, an up-and-coming basketball magazine from the UK. Lev.
Hey everyone.
Welcome.
Thanks for having me. Yeah, it's been on my list for a while now, so I'm just happy it's finally happening.
Yeah. Dope. So, well, let's get straight into it. My first question would be, how does Swish engage with his audience?
Oh, yeah, well, so first of all, I just want to mention that I think it's very important for any type of magazine to actually know what their target audience is, so that they can adjust their content so that it pleases the people that read their magazine. Mm-hmm. So we've spent a lot of time researching what the audience demographic of audiences who read basketball magazines and who would then read ours as well is. Mm-hmm. So for example, our research reveals that 89% of our readers are male, and the average age is 19.8 years old, which kind of gives us an idea of what type of content we would put in the magazine.
Yeah.
And then also 90% of the readers play basketball regularly, and 83% play something like a video game type, like NBA 2K. Yeah. And this also tells us that it might be a good idea to add something about stuff like new player ratings in 2K or about how to improve your basketball playing. Mm-hmm. That could be just small tips and tricks to improve your jump shot or your dunking capabilities or whatever. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Cool. Well, I think, knowing your target audience is probably the first step for any type of business, right?
Yeah, for sure. Mm-hmm. But also knowing how to use the information that you collect. Yeah. And then what to change to fit that audience. For Swish, we look at things like mastheads, content page, front covers, just the normal content, and the usage of different color in our front cover. Mm-hmm. So with the mastheads, for example, Swish was decided because it's a thing if you know within the basket culture. Mm-hmm. Basically it resembles the sound the basketball net makes where you make a perfect shot. Mm-hmm. So we discussed the way of drawing attention to the title but still keeping it slick and clean. So the font we chose for Swish gives it a special flair, making it that makes it a lot more memorable and special. So the color changes from issue to issue, but in this one it's purple because it follows the color palette of the whole front cover, which is purple, white, and black. And this is a very conventional way of designing a front cover. The masthead is also very large in comparison to the other writing, focusing attention on that part of the front cover, making sure that readers actually notice that it's called Swish. Mm. So yeah, and the reason why I bring up conventions and the norm so much is because these are the things that our audience really expect to see in a basketball magazine. And that's crucial so that you can make sure that the magazine meets your audience's expectations of that genre. So you don't necessarily need to follow all the conventions of that genre, but as long as you're aware of them, so you know when you use them and when you challenge them.
Yeah, so you know what parts of your magazine is similar to others and which are more rare to find in that genre. Okay, but what about the actual content of your magazine?
Oh yeah. So Swish features articles of many different sorts. It can vary from interviews with famous basketball players, it can be articles of just other famous people that are remotely related to basketball. It can be tips and tricks, I mentioned before, about actually improving your game. And then actual game analysis is very important. And then there's so much more, but everything that's included in each issue is influenced by our audience. So for example, it's not hard to see that people want to hear about their favorite baller, what they have to say about certain issues and just average things, or what Rihanna really has against Kevin Durant. So like all of these things spark an interest inside the reader's mind. And normally we try to like make an article that will get the reader to go and tell his mates about what he's just read in Swish. And that way the word spread. So we also try to like create an enigma around the title, like a little mystery that makes the reader want to continue reading that article, like the secret to the Bucks defense, for example.
Something to lure in the reader.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, you spoke a little bit about the masthead on the front cover. Could you explain how important the front cover as a whole is for the magazine like yours?
Yeah, of course. So, well, like personally, I just believe that the main image and like the person on the front cover is key to making a successful and good-looking front cover. So that's kind of like the hook that lures in the people reading it. So our magazines has to compete with so many others in order to attract our target audience. So for this month's issue, in like the front cover, it's like probably what we spent the most time creating, and it's something that will catch the eye of our customers in a store. So the use of Photoshop on the image makes it look high tech and advanced, giving the magazine a very professional and like high production feel to it. Also, it's pretty conventional when it comes to like the fact that there's one main person on the front cover. Conventionally, it would be a very famous basketball player or just a celebrity. But we haven't really established an identity within the industry yet. So we chose to use like a fresh new talent that's creating like new waves in the basketball game. The new generation basically. And then of course the magazine front cover with its cover lines is key to promoting its actual content as well. So our magazine front cover is of a man dribbling a basketball with more like faded arms in the background. And yeah, it's clear to see how that directly relates to basketball, because like there's literally a man dribbling a basketball. And then there's the aspect of usage of different colors on the front cover. As I mentioned a bit before, we often use a color palette of like maybe 3 or 4 colors in our magazine front covers, and this makes sure that too much isn't going on color-wise, and that everything like works together. Then we also try to pick some colors that will stand out like extra from the page, often bright colors like purple itself, and this is also like to draw attention to the magazine and to like make it more interesting in a way. So but no matter what colors you choose, there's multiple ways of utilizing them for different things, especially when it comes to drawing attention to different things. So for example, in the article title, there might be certain words or names that are more important than others. Those words might be like another color from just the rest like average writing, to really show that that's the most important part of the sentence. Like for example, Mamba out, but his legacy will never die. It's clear to see that Mamba is a lot more important than like out, but his. So therefore we would color Mamba purple and leave the other writing just black. And this also like makes the article more like eye-catching and like, yeah, just interesting in general.
Yeah, for sure. It kind of points out what the article is about. But what do you think your audience get from reading your magazine?
Yeah, that's a difficult one, because everyone like read things because of different reasons. So we see like a language and register that will like appeal to our audience. So this is like a mode of address. So we use colloquial language and talk to our audience as though they were a respected friend. So often we speak about this topic. We mention like a theory called the uses and gratifications theory, created during the 1960s. It's basically about the way we use media and the way media doesn't use us. In this theory, we speak about something called RICE, R-I-C-E, which means reinforcement, information, companionship, and then entertainment slash escapism. And these are all ways of using media, and audiences use different types of media in different ways. So reinforcement is all about getting a sense of your identity in what you're observing. Information is when you use a media for an informative purpose, and companionship is when you use media for emotional support and interaction as a companion. And then there's entertainment and escapism, using media to entertain yourself and escape into a whole nother world. So knowing what your audience will use your media for is important so that you can give them like what they want. So Swish can be used for many of these. The magazine is very informative, so it can definitely be used as a source of knowledge about basketball. For example, you could learn about different players in exclusive interviews, or about the actual technical skill, like that side of the game and like how to play the game. And I also believe that people can identify their personality with the magazine, because most of our readers are ballers and share an interest for the sport. So anytime we write about the basketball culture and lifestyle, they will be able to relate to the content. But above all, I think the readers use Swish for entertainment and escapism purposes, because they look to be thrown into the world of basketball and love reading how their favorite player is playing.
That's so interesting. I've never even heard about uses and gratifications theory, but I see how it's useful for a magazine like yours. Okay, so let's move on to the last question. How is Swish going to be distributed?
Oh yeah, so Swish will first and foremost be a subscription-based magazine. So at nothingbutnet.com, you'll be able to subscribe to the magazine and get our monthly issues. So like I feel like because of the way we're moving forward, like online subscriptions will probably be the only way to read magazines in the future. So we're keeping our website updated with all the latest issues. Many other magazines like Slam and ESPN's do the same thing. So we need to make sure that our website is like no others. We'll, however, also be selling the copies in stores. So you can find them in every WH Smith and in Mag Culture on St. John Street in London. I feel like people still find joy in like buying an actual magazine in stores and keep them at home, almost like a collectible. And the early way we spread the word like a little bit about Swish was creating a launch party when we released the first issue worldwide. Some very famous people like LeBron James, Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, Shaquille O'Neal, and many others showed up to support us. So then they might like also post a picture of them at the event with which their fans later would see, and so the word would then spread about the magazine. Yeah, like that's really a big part of it all, like social media and how that's affected everything, because often we'll get the person featured in the magazine to create a quick post about the magazine, then posting it in on their social media. So later it will be like, yeah, it can be anything like Instagram, Twitter, and yeah, we'll get them to give us a little bit of a shout out, like, which is likely to give us like a more and more like fan base, like a bigger and bigger fan base, and more viewers. So this is a great example of like synergy as well, where the person uses his platform to promote us, and in exchange he is featured in our magazine, so we promote him on our platform as well. It's like a little cooperation. At the same time, I'll be posting about coming here today. So in exchange for being featured on your podcast, this way, two things kind of promote each other for more recognition. And then we'll introduce the idea of selling copies in basketball games. So with like a short article about the mentality of the two teams coming into the game, and like then who will be playing. So this way people can find the magazine to like learn a little bit more about the game they're about to watch. So like before it starts, they'll know more about it. And also, this would like then be a way for the fans to remember the game, so then they can go home, keep the magazine, put it on a shelf somewhere, and they're constantly reminded of their first NBA game.
Yeah, wow, amazing. Thank you, Lev for joining us today. I wish you all the best in the future, and I hope that I will see you soon. And make sure that all of you go out and buy a copy of Swish magazine or order it online.
Yeah, of course. The pleasure is all mine.
Cheers.
All around the world.